Hi guys, welcome to the Wrestling Retrospective, and in today's video I'm doing my review of NXT Heatwave 2025. So we started off the night with Lola Vice defeating Jada Parker and Kalani Jordan to become the new #1 contender to the NXT Women's Championship, and this was a great way to start the show. I thought this was a really good match. All three ladies had really good showings throughout. The pacing was really well done. They all had like a regular process of the match where it was like a regular process in the case of I don't know the way to word it. It's like a triple threat way where two people in the ring, one person takes a rest, and then they kind of change it up a bit, and then the third person comes in, which was very well done. And then we kind of had the finish where all of them were all together in the ring. We thought that Jada Parker was going to get the win, but then Lola Vice stole it at the end, which, again, a very kind of a heel thing, but it kind of worked in the way of Lola Vice. And with all three of them kind of being treated as baby faces, even though Jada's probably was the heel here, I thought it worked really well. Yeah, Kalani showed off her athleticism like she always does, but being able to take on two opponents at once and kind of taking advantage of the match from inside and outside the ring, I thought worked really well. Jada Parker was dominant in the beginning of the match, being the stronger of the three women, but I do worry about her as far as like getting to the position of which she should probably be in already, and I worry that she ends up kind of being I want to say like a Cora Jade type, like not in a way of getting released, but in the way of like she never wins the NXT Women's Championship, but then ends up getting called up maybe even a little bit too early, unlike Cora Jade. And then she kind of ends up getting lost in the shuffle a little bit just because she's like so popular, and I feel like main roster will definitely have a interest in her already. But with the amount of talent that's in NXT right now, especially in the women's division, as we all know, that she might end up kind of not getting that accomplishment. And yeah, I mean, we've seen people come back down to NXT and win the championship. Charlotte Flair did it, Becky Lynch has done it, but it really feels like any other time and place in NXT, she definitely would have become the women's champion by now. But we'll have to see how it goes. And as for Lola, you know, this is a well-deserved win for her, especially with all the work she's been putting in with AAA and in NXT at the same time. And yeah, I really feel like she has a shot at the title here. I feel like, you know, she's a good babyface to go up against the top heel of JC Jane. And yeah, I feel like this was a good match from all three women. And all three women that I feel like are the women in NXT right now. If you take away the people who have come in from different companies, so, you know, Jordan Grace, who came from TNA, and Blake Monroe, who came from AEW. These three seem to be like the three main women of NXT now that Roxanne and Cora have kind of gone away. So yeah, I look forward to seeing these guys probably interact all again, and maybe even make the JC Jane title match a multi-woman. That would be really cool if they did that, but I can't see them doing it. I think they'll just stick with Lola. But yeah, I say it was a very good way to start the show. I enjoy all three of these women, and you know, I said hopefully Lola does take the title from her, because I feel like Lola probably is the next person to take the title from JC, and then maybe Monroe takes the title from Vice on a later date. Following that, we had Darkstate defeat Hank and Tank to become the new NXT Tag Team Champions, and this was a fine match. I'd say it was probably the worst match on the card, but by no means does that suggest that it was a bad match at all. It was a pretty decent match. It just goes to show how good the rest of the matches were on the card. But personally, I'm glad that Darkstate got the win here. I feel like they probably should have been the team that beat Axiom, or Axiom, they beat Fraxium even. But they gave the title to Hank and Tank for a bit, but I'm not really a big fan of Hank and Tank. I see them more as a comedy duo, and it kind of felt like the titles meant less having them as champions, which is nothing against them. I think they're great athletes. I just feel like the whole silly bollocks that they do on NXT all the time, it kind of takes away from them, in my opinion. I mean, I get like being a good babyface group, but they do need to get like serious at some points, which they never really did. I like the fact that Darkstate did the whole Freebird rule, so we didn't really know until the match had actually fully got into it who was in the match, because even though it seemed like they were going to start and ring the bell, so Dion Lennox came in and attacked Ankle Tank who started the match, which then showed which ones were actually going to be in the match, which I think worked really well. I think it's going to be something that they do fairly often when it comes to title defenses, and I feel like it gives them a huge advantage. But yeah, I feel like this is going to be really good for Darkstate. It feels like they're going to have good tag team feuds, as well as stay in the main event scene as far as like taking on the likes of Oba and Javon and Trick. And yeah, they can kind of keep doing it as champions because they're seen as the top of their own division, that they can go into a different division and attack people. I feel like that's a really good position for them to be in if they want to become a very dominant group. And yeah, everything about this kind of works really well. I'm hoping they're going to be quite dominant champions and hold them for a fair bit of time, or at least it makes sense if they hold them for a long time, and then we kind of have a big babyface team who can come on and kind of take them down. As that, I believe they're undefeated as a tag team. I believe they're also maybe undefeated as a group as well, so they're in a very good position to be champions for a long time, which I feel like would really work for them and kind of put them back in the position they were in a few months ago, where they were like a very dominant threat over NXT. Following that, we had Ash by Elegance defeat Jacy Jayne and Masha Slamovich to become the new TNA Knockouts World Champion. And yeah, colour me shocked. This was arguably the biggest shock of the night. Probably the whole night, including both shows, to be fair. I was one of the people that was very much in the camp of Ash is nowhere near a winner here. If anyone's going to take the title, it's going to be Masha. And Ash is kind of there to take a pin. And yeah, once again, I could not have been more wrong. It seems to be a typical thing when it comes to trying to predict Jacy Jayne matches, is that the way you think it's going to go in the complete opposite, which is also very good. Shocks are very much welcome in wrestling. I do love it when we get a good shock. But yeah, like, for me, this wasn't quite as good as the opening triple threat. I feel like there was just a few missing parts. I feel like they didn't link as well as Vice, Kalani and Jada, but I feel like at the same time, Vice, Kalani and Jada have been around each other a lot more compared to these three, so they're going to build a bigger chemistry between each other. But no, this was still good. All three looked good throughout. I feel like Jacy Jayne probably was the MVP of the match. I feel like she dominated for the most part. Ash kind of came in and stole it, and Masha had a good performance too, but I found myself kind of losing her within the match, if that makes sense. Like, she was kind of breaking is in like taking a break on the outside, then she'd come in for a bit, and I feel like I expected a lot more out of Masha Slamovich within this match, with it being a NXT PLE, to kind of have a bigger showing, to then prove to like the bigger fans of WWE like how good she is, similar to what they did with Jordynne Grace. But it is what it is. Sometimes it's just how the match falls, I guess. But yeah, I think everything about this was great. I have nothing really bad to say about this one. But what a moment for Ash by Elegance. She was used arguably very poorly in WWE. She's then came back into WWE and won a world championship, which I think is awesome. You gotta feel like that's good for the ego for her. And yeah, her character, I feel like is going to fit very well as a Knockouts champion. I don't think it's going to last very long, but then I also said that about Jacy, and it's gone for a fair few days at this point. But yeah, I can, as for a person of Ash by Elegance, I feel like that's a very good feeling. I'm hoping that this result kind of plays into the Jacy Jayne and Lola Vice feud going into No Mercy, which will hopefully see Jacy Jayne kind of start doubting herself a lot more, start doubting her teammates around. Speaking of her teammates, the referee had an absolute fumble during this match, kicking out Fatal Influence for interference, even though it's a triple threat match and there's no rules. But it was very random seeing Jasmine Nix just punch the hell out of Ash by Elegance. But yeah, to evict them from ringside was very random, especially as he didn't do the same to the Elegance brand. But then at the same time, neither of them should have been evicted from ringside, as it's a no disqualification match. There's no rules. They had every right to get involved. If anything, they should have been involved more. But yeah, it seems like Jacy Jayne might have a lapse in confidence here after losing the Knockouts Championship, which could play very heavily into the match with Lola Vice. And I'm not gonna lie, I feel like the title is in a lot of jeopardy now more than ever. So yeah, I look forward to seeing her versus Vice at No Mercy. And yeah, big shock seeing Ash by Elegance win at the Knockouts Championship. After that, we had Blake Monroe defeat Jordynne Grace, and yeah, just another good, solid match. I'd say that Monroe just had the advantage throughout this one. She was targeting the shoulder a lot, and she was very tactically smart throughout at the steps spot, where it kind of seemed like she was going to do some kind of Death Valley driver, Grace that is, to Monroe, and she kind of reversed back and slammed her back and head first into the steps. I thought it was very well done. One thing I don't like is this idea that Blake Monroe is scared of Jordynne Grace. Like, I get that Monroe and Mariah are supposed to be essentially two different people. They're two different characters, I suppose, so they're not supposed to almost correlate. But when I've watched so much of Mariah May kind of dominate through the AEW Women's Division, I really feel like Monroe could take Jordynne Grace really to the limit in different ways, and kind of we see the more sadistic side of Monroe during this feud, which unfortunately we didn't get, and I'm hoping it's something we get to see through NXT and hopefully the main roster at some point. But yeah, clearly we're just not getting to that side of her yet, which is a bit of a shame because it's something I really enjoyed about AEW last year. But also, Jordynne Grace looked very strong in this one, especially in defeat when she was battered against the exposed turnbuckle, which I thought was done very well with her kind of holding her arm against it so then she wasn't hit, and then the drop kick into it kind of worked well. Again, made Grace look really good in defeat. But yeah, I feel like this, or at least I believe this is going to be Grace's last match on NXT. I know that we've said this a lot recently, and again, I'm kind of a bit like a broken record when it comes to Jordynne Grace matches, but it does make sense to have her kind of maybe get written off for a little bit so she can go and support Jonathan Gresham and then come back in as a main roster member. I feel like she'd be a brilliant fit for SmackDown, as the SmackDown brand does need more women sooner rather than later, because like their division, especially in the title scene for Tiffany Stratton, is really struggling. But yeah, I said overall this was a really good match. I believe that Blake Monroe will be looking at getting some gold in NXT very soon, if not straight after this pay-per-view. But I don't know if it'll be the NXT Women's Championship. I'd maybe have a go for the North American Championship, because I feel like her and Sol Rucker could have some absolutely fantastic matches. But again, that's just kind of just speculation, fantasy booking almost. But yeah, overall this was a really good match. And yeah, I think this was a really good way to solidify Blake Monroe in NXT. After that, we had Ethan Page and Chelsea Green defeat Tavion Heights and Tyra May Steele. I always forget what her, kind of forget what her name is. But yeah, I think mixed tag matches kind of a stipulation where they're not really known for having good matches, and they can sometimes fall very flat. I mean, I don't think anyone said that like this mixed tag match is like the best mixed tag match of all time. I don't think that's kind of ever been said. They kind of get forgotten by the wayside. But this match was fine, just as a match. But to watch it, it was very enjoyable. It was kind of good in a way of entertainment side rather than wrestling side, in my opinion. It kind of had the right amount of really solid and good wrestling from all four of them, but some really good comedy from Page and Green, as well as a good win for them as well. I feel like they're definitely the team that should have got the win, which obviously they did. I'm not saying that they didn't, but I feel like just as a unit, like Green and Page are at a level so much higher than Tavion and Steele. The fact that they're just in this match kind of brings Tavion and Steele up to their level, which is always a good thing when it gets to these young superstars in NXT, which they did have a good performance. I feel like going up against veterans, I said, like Green and Page, is never going to hurt their stock, and I said they looked very good throughout the match. I look forward to seeing the inevitable singles match between Tavion and Page, I assume, for the North American Championship at some point. But I say, yeah, like this all was really well. They made Steele's look really good with her having to German suplex not only Ethan Page but Alba Fire also in the arms of Ethan Page, because she was trying to help Ethan get out of it. I thought it was a really cool moment in the match. But yeah, I feel like Green and Page is a team that I really don't want to have this be a one-off. I want them to stay together on NXT for a while. I feel like Green is the perfect person to have work NXT and SmackDown. And if anything, this is only going to help her get to that main event level on SmackDown eventually when she's kind of back to doing just SmackDown. But yeah, the comedy elements to this match worked really well. And again, something I want to see more of is Ethan Page and Chelsea Green. But yeah, this was a solid match and awesome pairings between them both. Both of them worked really, really well as units. And yeah, this was just a solid match and a good win for the heels. And finally, in the main event, we had Obafemi successfully retain the NXT Championship against Siobhan Evans. Yeah, this was great, 100% match of the night in my opinion. It kind of went how I expected, but my expectations behind this match was so high that it was just great viewing. I fully expected these two to have the best match on the night, and they did not disappoint at all. I love the chemistry that these two have together. I feel like the dynamic of the powerhouse versus the high flyer was very well done here, and yeah, just added to the match even more. In my opinion, when these two are opponents, they are yet to have a bad match together, whether it be a triple threat, whether it be a fatal four-way, whether it be a singles match. These guys just seem to actually go out there and kill it, and I love it when they are facing off against each other. Siobhan Evans is absolutely solid in the ring. He's got fluid motions. The transitional wrestling is done really well. The aerials are just brilliant. There's a reason why he says he's bouncy. It's because everything he does to do with high flying stuff is done so well. The bump he took, again, very similar to the one he took on NXT this past week, where he just got thrown through the table just before the finish. Respect to him for taking that spot. It looks awful whenever he does it. The sell also from Oba on the kind of starting parts of the match. So I've kind of gone from the end to the start, which kind of makes no sense, but you have to forgive me on that one. But the sell of Oba when Javon super kicked him and he fell back, not only like him just falling in general, because not a lot of people can actually get Oba down, but the facial expression of him looking around and noticing that he's actually hit the floor, and then the smile from Javon to then him getting really angry, I thought was done very, very well and kind of showed like just how far Javon has come as far as like being taken seriously goes. And yeah, again, just absolutely fantastic. We then saw the ref bump, which I was not expecting during this match, and then obviously again, because it's WWE and you see a ref bump, I assume that some kind of interference is going to happen. Luckily it didn't. I kind of for a split second expected a Trick Williams appearance or maybe a Darkstate appearance, but no, it was just a case of the Javon got the win, but Oba's foot was under the ropes, which I thought was done really well. Instead of it just being his foot on the rope, it was underneath, which is a rule that maybe some people forget sometimes. And yeah, we kind of saw the original referee who was down get up just as the 3 count was made, so we had to cancel it out, which then saw Javon kind of react in a way that anyone would, where they thought they got the win but they didn't. This gave Oba enough time to recover. He threw him through the table, hit the fall from grace and got the win. And yeah, I feel like this adds to the long-term storytelling of Javon and Oba, where, as I said during my predictions, I feel like Javon is the person to take the title from Oba. It just won't be quite yet, and this will be the case of Javon saying that he got the win over Oba but it didn't count. Oba will say, well, it doesn't count, so it doesn't matter, all that kind of stuff. And then eventually Javon will actually overcome Oba Femi and get the title from him. But I feel like we are going to save that for probably next year at Stand and Deliver, like I said before in my predictions. And then after the match, we saw Ricky Saints come out to confront Oba Femi, which is like a kind of match that's like finally, because you have to believe that Ricky Saints would be in the NXT title position now already, but he's kind of been doing random stuff with, well, not random stuff, he's having a small feud with Jasper Troy, which is obviously good for Jasper. But yeah, we finally get Ricky Saints in the NXT title scene, which is very good. I think it's come at a bad time though, because I don't think Ricky is going to take the title from Oba, unfortunately, but I feel like both guys are going to look great coming out of that feud. And yeah, I say it's a match I'm definitely looking forward to. It's good to see Oba Femi finally getting some main event opponents rather than facing just the tag division. And yeah, I say nothing but positive for this one. Absolutely match of the night. I mean, even go check out the highlights on YouTube. It is a really good match. If not, go onto Netflix and find it as well. Obviously, I keep forgetting it's on Netflix when I do these reviews. But yeah, just absolutely fantastic overall from these two, and I look forward to when they face again. So those are my thoughts and opinions on NXT Heatwave 2025. Do put down in the comments below your thoughts on the show, and yeah, anything else, what you think Ricky versus Oba is going to be like. What do you think is next for Javon Evans? Do you think that Blake Monroe goes into the NXT Women's title division after the Lola Vice and JC Jane match? And anything else you want to discuss in the comments, I'm sure we'll have a good conversation about it. But yeah, do like this video if you enjoyed it. Do share it, if I would much appreciate it. And do subscribe to stick around for more wrestling content. There is a lot of good stuff coming up on the coming up in the coming days. Yesterday I did my review of AEW Forbidden Door. There's predictions for Clash in Paris coming up in a couple of days, as well as coverage from that as well as classic reviews, lists and all kind of stuff coming up as well, so do stick around for all of those. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.